And we're live. I timed that pretty good. Starting with the black screen into the intro and into this, and here we are. So there, hey Robert and Brent and Troy, or Tony, sorry. Glenn, hey Lacey, hey Arthur, here we are. See, everything's here. Got the lights on. Got everything working right. The audio should be good. Got that ceiling out. Got it back down. Got the camera down. The camera is being pointed down by a roll of electrical tape. Not taped down. It has a roll of electrical tape sitting on it to point it down. So carefully balanced. So hopefully that holds through for the next hour. Howdy, hillbilly. Hey guys. A drink to win. Oh, we're not going to start with that. I run out before we're done. Greetings from Vegas. All right. So pretty nice day out today. We're in the 60s, 63 degrees, sunny and clear. There's been sprinkles, but we've had no discernible real rain. Man, it's been dry out here for way too long. So feel for everybody in California, but I start to worry out here the tinderbox that we're becoming too. The worst, we had, well, not the worst, but Discovery Camp, first day of Discovery Camp for the Dons Arizona today. Fortunately, the last group had to cut back, so I was not only able to make it in here, but I got out of there, was able to run across town and get back in here, so worked out really good. Successful first day. I think we had 102 third graders. We worked through gold panning, ranching, hiking, and all that kind of stuff. Jax, get out of the window. There's nothing out there you need to see. Nothing. Just take yourself out of here. But, it was a good day. 102 students, so, and things went well. Myself, Greg Davis, Kim Johnson, Greg Welsh. Can't remember who was on. A bunch of people helped us up there, so we had a good day. So everything worked out all right. We got that in, got over here, and got the live in. So that was nice. Kind of did the Chasing Legends, which we showed everybody the Jacob Waltz ceremony. Not in its entirety. We cut some out because there's it's funny, historians have a habit to just grab at some story out of one thing, and they don't really have a good overview. They started out really fine with the one story, and then they got so far off kind of kilter that it became more the fairy tale than the Jacob Waltz actual story. So we did that, and there was some other issues, but we gave you most of the ceremony, and everything turned out really nice. Got this nifty thing today too, which is 25th anniversary of Discovery Camp. So we have little buttons we handed out to the students. They were part of that 25th anniversary as well. And Sunsets, there you go. Sunsets, the DVD, Blu-ray, available on Amazon Prime. Just look it up, Sunsets, and then look up Trevor Tuttle, or you can put my name in, Wayne Tuttle, and it'll bring it right up, and then you can rent it. I think you can download to own, but you can rent it. It's pretty cheap. The Roswell incident, Roswell conspiracy. I think it's Roswell conspiracy. But anyways, look that up on it. It's available. It's probably on Amazon Prime, but I think it's also available on Hulu. I think no, not Hulu. Apple TV. Sorry, Glenn. But Glenn Evans, good friend of ours, a guy I worked with, director of photography on Legend of the Superstition Mountains, has that film out, which is a fictional film, counting, and features a couple well-known actors in it. It's kind of nice he got his thing out there. So still have snow on the, well, we don't have snow. When you first started hiking the supers, did you focus on the west side? First started hiking, I was just a kid. I didn't focus on anything. I went where everybody else went and where I was told. So when I first started, I didn't know nothing. I just thought it was really a cool place. And the story started with being a kid, going out to the mountains. We've been all kinds of places. And it really pulled me. And I was like, man, I don't know what it is about this place, but I really like it. We went from First Water all the way through down Peralta Canyon and hiked through the interior and then camped down on the southern end of the Superstitions. and I've told the story, but it was after that because of my interest, because I had a huge interest in that. And then shortly after that, I ended up going into the Grand Canyon. But I got 2 books that birthday. One was The Killer Mountains by Kurt Gentry, and I got that book, and I read that all summer over and over and over and over. I just kept reading that book. It was completely, I couldn't wait to get back when fall and winter came. And then the other book I got from an uncle was The Complete Book of Camping, which was one of those books that told you how to make, you could literally make a cabin out of it. It was like a big, thick book. I still have it. I don't know where it's at, but I still have that book. And those 2 books kind of set me on a course to some degree. I think The Complete Book of Camping was because when we went to the Grand Canyon, I was absolutely a greenhorn. And so he thought I needed to get a little better educated in my my outdoorsmanship. And so it was a combination of those things. And then that summer, once we got done going towards Christmas, then I got a copy of Simsy Lee's Lost Dutchman Mine and Barry Storm's Thunder God's Gold. And those were both like gifts, like someone just gave me their old copies they had laying around. And that was kind of the beginning of all of it kind of stirring up, was because I started reading these books, and I was like, then we're going back in the mountains. And then I started wanting to see, for me particular, it was I want to go where I read something in the book. So this is where this happened. I want to go there and see what it's like. I don't know if I was expecting to see someone there. I just wanted to go to those places that I read about. Black Mesa. Yeah, I was hoping the Black Mesa, thank you very much. And yeah, people are suffering from the hurricane still too. Yeah, the Black Mesa video is we will continue unused music from television, films, and different products, different things we've done. And there's always a start and stop. And it's not because they're bad songs, they just didn't fit with things. And I'm going mixing stuff out, and then we'll just continue. Maybe next week there'll be one, maybe it'll be a week or 2, and it's just, we're going to put those out. And that way, there'll be a playlist where you can just listen to some music and stuff, and we'll kind of pull that together and do that over time, because there's plenty of it. God, who knows how much there's stuff that's just attached to sunsets. And we'll be doing mainly just the Superstition Mountain and that kind of stuff related. So it'll be cinematic. Trevor runs B-roll. We didn't have the clouds. We were hoping to have something. Today was a good day. We had a little bigger, puffier clouds. You want something that kind of the clouds are rolling over the cliffs and stuff like that. But we're going to just shoot 5-10 minutes of B-roll and then just put a video with it and stuff like that. Anyways, thank you, though. Still snow here, too. Hello, Arizona Gold Hunter. Okay, we're talking to each other. Where did George Collenborn? They focused a lot in Needle Canyon. They were down in Needle Canyon an awful lot, down by Bluff Springs. That's what I've always read in the diaries and stuff that I've read. I think they traveled a little bit here and there, but most everything I ever captured, and I talked to Tom about, was his dad was down. He was pretty familiar with the mountains, but a lot of it was down in Needle Canyon and around Bluff Springs. So that was their principal target area. Maybe up in Marsh Valley, which is, back then, that was the target area all the time. Yes, it was Robert. Okay. Very soothing with $18. Okay. Hi, Larry. David is driving home waiting, but says hi. Okay. Anyways, and then we got one more showed up. Maybe it's directed towards me. Ooh. Yes. I showed some family our Don's hike here last year, and they were watching the show on Mondays. They loved the content. Oh, and that's good. It was a funny thing. Trevor and I had a discussion, and I told Trevor, I said, there's this weird thing I'm dealing with all the time. And I said, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of different stuff streaming. Part of it is what works for different people, what captures an audience, how different things work. So I'm always looking at it, and I told Trevor, I said, I've discovered one thing, because I'm looking at sometimes like, oh, wow, that guy released this video, and it has 142,000 views. This one has 568,000. So I'm interested because I'm looking at things from the perspective of, well, okay, I have pretty good content, but what's the difference between where I'm at after 4 or 5 years and these other people are at, and how's it grown? I realize now that it is because I don't act like I'm 12 years old. I was listening to this stuff, and most of the stuff I can't listen to for more than 3 or 4 minutes because it's just a bunch of people just being stupid. But it's entertaining because there's that young audience, probably in their teens and stuff like that just think this stuff is just absolutely kind of funny and dumb. The stuff that we thought was funny and dumb when we were 16, 17. And I realize I can't do that. I can't do the fake. I can't do fake stuff like, well, we found gold. Oh, it was fake shit. I can't do stupid fake pranks. I can't do any of the stuff that's just like that, because to me it's like, okay, but it's not real. And so more power to them. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I can't play that kind of content, and I realize that's where I am. Some people say, oh, you should have a lot more people. It's because I think this is good, but it's serious. There is the humor to it, but it's a much more mature audience, and it's more people that are trying to be entertained by thinking and being, hey, go out and do this. I'm not trying to, BS the whole thing, trip through. I'm not just trying to make it overly dramatic and tell a bunch of Jacob Waltz lies. So because I don't follow the pattern that the most successful places do, that's why I don't get to be as successful. And that's the only thing I can figure out. Because otherwise, I should be blowing holes in them, because if it's about accuracy or actually information, we kill them. We kill them bad. Hey, Country Carpenter, you are more real than most. Well, and it's because but you can meet me at the rendezvous. You can see me places and know how I am and realize this is who I am. So I don't think it ever affected me where I think I have to have a persona, and where other people might need a persona because that's not something they did. I think there are kind of real people. I think Josh Gates is kind of real to who he is. I've heard different things about him, but he is an archaeologist. He's into that kind of stuff, has always traveled and explored stuff. So I think if you meet him, he's probably a bit like that, maybe more reserved. But I think for a lot of people, that's not fundamentally what they do in life and stuff. And you will notice they do television and stuff, but you're not going to ever find the Lagina brothers doing this. I don't think they even really do interviews. I think they completely avoid that stuff. The guy that owns Skinwalker Ranch has done stuff, but I think it's just to promote the program. And they have live cameras on there and stuff, and have people sign up for a fee. So I think it's a marketing thing. It's more of them trying to advertise the programs and things they have. So it's a different type of thing. So I'm just who I am and do what I do, and because I'm kind of immersed into it in different forms of different things, whether it's Treasure Hunt of the Year or it's Dutch Hunter, and I'm trying to think of what else, the Dawns of Arizona, all this stuff is stuff that preceded a TV show and stuff. So I think that's that big difference you notice, is that, yeah, I'm really into this. I really have all these books. I really have file cabinets full of stuff. So it makes me not just real in that sense, but yes, this is what I am into. So, any word on the hike? Still waiting on that, because I talked to Frank, because I'd like to get Frank out on that too. Hello, you are more real than most. Okay, I read that. I know I'm real. Yep, real. Is Marsh Canyon close to Pistol Canyon? Not really. It's on the other side of Peters Mesa. So Marsh Canyon, but you're talking about Marsh Valley. Go up Marsh Valley, you could go up the LaBarge side, and you could go up by Squaw and stuff, and it's up around the corner on the western side, up on the north side on Peters Mesa. We need that sometimes. We did that before, I think, with a map thing. I need to do something where I can move the mouse around and do a map and show people where stuff that's not on maps. Because I don't really know if certain things are on the maps. I don't think Pistol Canyon is. Yeah, it's just there's a crevice. It's a very small canyon, north-south running canyon, kind of up on the northwest side of Peters Mesa. I think the difference is because you don't lie and you provide factual shit. That's what I'm known for. You can smell my factual shit from a mile away. Yeah, I try to be honest as I possibly can. I don't purposely try to deceive anybody on anything, because I think whether I find it, you find it, anybody finds it, the truth is going to get someone somewhere. And I think it's always interesting to kind of like look at it is like the psychology, which is something Clay Worse, I've talked about. Clay Worse and I didn't get as much time to talk to Tom about it. We talked a little, but Clay and I have had some really good discussions on the psychology via Dutch hunters and stuff, what happens. And you get really interested in is why, people almost, Crazy Jake's a good example, but there's a lot of Dutch hunters that lie themselves into believing their own bullshit, and they can't separate eventually, and it makes you wonder, like, why? You need to have a life. You need to be, I think you're spot on, buddy. Also, you and Frank were made for TV. I think there was the chemistry, and I had to be a little more dry. I'm not going to say angry, but I had to be a little more serious-minded and realize that if because Frank is kind of comedy gold at times, but it only works if you have a good straight man. So Frank works really well when we're doing it. If you just catch the two of us sitting around together and stuff, it's usually both of us just joking around and making fun of each other and stuff, and it's pretty lighthearted, like we have done on some videos. But I realized on TV, and even when we're filming together, there's different roles we fit into, and we have to kind of fit to. Guys, well, sorry, excuse me. Hey, no, you can't bring other dogs with you and act like that's okay. Go. Yeah, we'll bring a group in, and then we can just look through the blinds. So, so Frank was really good for television, and I don't think he ever will understand. He was so worried about the perception of people, and some people have the wrong perception of him. But he has a personality when he's just being himself and not trying to be funny. He's actually really, really good. It really works well. And I think that was what was the gold, as I recognized it, is like, just let Frank be himself. And then let me look at him like, you crazy old fish. And it worked good. I just had to watch the humor. It was the funny story is we were about 3 weeks. Jackson, you leave. No, go. Just gave me the big brown sad eyes. But Dalil turned me after about 3 weeks. No, Rocky. We're going to have this doing. I guess I just might as well give up on that. But anyways, Dalil turned to me after about 3 weeks of filming, and one day I said something, and then Dalil turned and looked at me and said, "You have a sense of humor?" So Magnuson found out I coached baseball and loved baseball and all this stuff after we'd finished filming, and we're doing pickups after we'd been around each other for 8 weeks through the summer and fall. So those guys were really, I kind of like immersed myself into what I thought my role was. But Frank, it worked really well, because Frank, once he realized his groove, it worked fine. They wanted us to be more argumentative, have more issues with each other. But I think I told Frank at one point, I just said, we're not going to do it. We did the one scene where we're in the quarter circle U, where I said, hey, where's your thing, stone map guy, and all this, and made fun of him a little. But I told Frank, that's not going to do anything for the show. It's the families, people want to watch. People don't want to see us bicker at each other, Frank. They want to see just kind of straight dead on. And Frank got it, and then they really tried at times to kind of cause some issues, some friction, and we wouldn't let it happen. That was just us saying, no, not going to happen today. Have you ventured into Music Canyon? Yes. Any discoveries to share? I think I've told a story out by Music Canyon. I don't know. I'd have to look back. Nothing offhand I can think of. There's a lot of canyons, a lot of places I went that, wow, it was interesting. I walked around there and saw some old prospects and stuff, but there was nothing made me feel like there was anything credible or anything that would draw me back to it. And that was that time when once I'd searched so many places that I'd read about, I started looking into the other places thinking nobody had been there. So, also, are Palo Verde grubs edible? I've never tried. I don't think I would eat grubs. What was that? God, what was that guy's name? He calls himself the Arizona Treasure Hunter, whatever. Cody Drake, giving him a plug. Okay. Yeah, he was on that show with the actor comedian, and they were like eating scorpions, and I'm like, fucking nobody eats scorpions. I mean, if you're out there and you're starving, even then, how many scorpions are going to take to fill your belly? We're just going to have dog after dog pile in here and stare out the window. But, yeah, I didn't understand that. It was like, that's that kind of thing on TV I hate, you know? It was like when we were sitting there and having camp, and I said, you know, let's do something and cook around a fire. And we had a bunch of gear there and stuff, so I said, why don't we throw and do this? Why don't we cook something? We were coming up with ideas, and the only thing they could come up with was cook beans. So a can of beans, and then we all share this can of beans, which was really stupid because nobody wanted to eat the beans because we had one spoon and one can, and Frank cooks it. And the funniest part about it all is Frank will never touch beans. He hates beans. He wants nothing to do with beans. So nobody ate the beans. We just pretended to eat the beans. I think maybe Dalil or someone took a bite, but it was just cold beans. And I was like, what sense does it make for us? You know, why don't we just sit around a fire and talk? Why do we got to eat around the fire, faking that we're eating beans? Well, bring us real food. We'll cook some real food, you know, or we could have killed a rabbit, skinned a rabbit and done that. But that was a problem too, is doing anything that people might get upset about. But yeah, but grubs, I know nothing about. I wouldn't eat grubs. Clay must be pushing, I think he's 95 or 96. Does anyone try to interview him? Yeah, I've interviewed him a bunch. I got tons of interview stuff. I got audio interviews. I got filmed interviews. We got one we put out that we filmed of him probably about 10 years ago. So, and there's tons. History Channel has hours and hours of footage of him talking. When we filmed Legends, they must have got about 6 to 8 hours out of him. And every company that's come through that's talked to him since has got an hour or two. So there has to be 30, 40 hours of good film quality interviews. And a couple of them I did. I was in there for Legends when we did it. I helped work on some of the script, the questions we wanted to ask him. And I sat there right there when he did one of the interviews. I sat there for 2 or 3 hours with headphones on listening to it. Because Clay has a great voice. And I did that, and then I stepped aside. I was surprised because I burned out, and Clay just kept going. He when he gets there. So, but yeah, plenty of people. He's at a point now. Just people need to leave him kind of alone. He loves to talk, but it's just hard, and it wears him down. Please, Drake, I'm trying to get Frank out of the house, and I don't think he watches this stuff anymore at all. He's kind of drifted away a little bit. So I talk to him every week, once or twice a week, and we talk about his little dog and different stuff, and I keep him up on what's going on with things. And I've been bugging him since November about getting out. So this day really helps me to remember the actual people. Well, and it was kind of that idea, and to give everybody a perk up of something, you know, to do with the superstitions and different things. I thought it was just kind of fun. It was just one of those ideas. I'm sitting there and I said, hey, let's try this for a month or two, because the simple fact of it is, in the next week I got to do February, is just put a bunch of days together, keep that list, and as I come across things, keep adding to it, so over the years we can build it out. Right now I'll only have half the month, but as time goes by we'll build it out, so there'll be something for every day, and I think that would be fun. I think it's just fun for people. There you go. No Palo Verde. I've seen. Yeah, why would you eat scorpion? It doesn't taste like lobster. There's nothing to a scorpion. I wouldn't eat a scorpion or a grub. I wouldn't eat a cricket. I mean, that's not going to get you anywhere. And when they do that on TV, that's so silly and stupid. There's other things you can eat. and other things you can do. But yeah, why are you going to eat something that's just going to make you thirsty or this or that? That never makes sense to me. It's like bad wilderness survival knowledge. Your first and main thing is you can survive a long time without food. But water, hydration is your most important thing. You and Frank should remake the movie Grumpy Old Men. I'm not sure which one would play Walter Matthau's role. I don't know. I'm not that grumpy, though. I'm sarcastic is what I am. But I'm not. I don't know. He's definitely Walter Matthau. I don't know, but I don't know if I'm really Jack Lemmon. I don't know if I fit either one. I'm not really the grumpy guy type. But then ask my kids when I'm trying to watch television, then I am seriously the grumpy guy. Why are you doing this? You're just like going in and out of the blinds. Just tick me off. And all three of you are now watching me do it. You're all three guilty. You have children, they grow up, go off to college, and then you have dogs. How long did it usually take for an episode to air on TV after it was filmed? That all is up to the production company. I was told they can film a week or so before, depending on what they have, because they can edit and put it together. We started with the pilot in July. None of that was used the first week. And then August, September, October, into October. And then we did some pickups in November, and then we did pickups in January. So some of the last stuff used for the show was just a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks before the show aired. So it takes a week. They roughly schedule out a week to film an episode, so 42 minutes takes 6 to 7 days at 10, 12-hour days. You need a lot of patience to do that because it just doesn't go very fast. It's a lot of reshoots and cameras and over shoulders and reaction shots, and you literally just die just hanging on the vine with it all. It's rough, but they can get it done pretty quick. We can turn around and pull a video together, and it's because of the consistency of shots, because when you're talking the shot, if you ever watch a show, the shot's changing every so many seconds. So they're clipping and they're bouncing the shots. And there's the over-shoulder shot. There's the shot of the two of us talking, maybe me and Frank. There's one over his shoulder, one over my shoulder. There's one from my perspective looking at him, one of looking at me. Then there's the one of my reaction shots. And then there's the one off in the distance or one circling around or something that shows from above a drone. So they're taking these 8, 9 different shots, and then they're just kind of like every few seconds rotating them, kind of like hitting the beat to go through. So that's usually what takes the longest. So it depends on your editor and when they timestamp everything, how well they've done that and how well they've done the sheet, so the guy can look at it and see what I'm working with and all that. Here's Kim and Sal. Sal has no place in that movie. What is Sal? Can't even understand Sal. Can you top Peters via Squaw Charlie Boy? What's the best way up? Go in from Tortilla, or you can go up Charlie Boy, or you can go up Squaw. I don't know, the Z Trail. It's however you go in, however you want to go in. I think going in from Tortilla is one of the easiest ways. But it's harder to get into Tortilla. But I think that way's fine. Charlie Boy's fine. You got to get all the way to Charlie Boy Spring to go up in. So I would my preference would be if you have the vehicle and you know the road is going into Tortilla and coming in from Tortilla, because it's probably the easiest route of the bunch. You're doing a distance regardless. If you're going to come in First Water, there's no easy trip into there. So you have to pick one of those 3 spots. So I would add Tortilla in there too, coming around. Let's see. Can you do the best way up? Relic Hunter. Has everything exciting been found in the mountains? No. Oh, has anything? This is what I mean. You don't mean everything exciting been found in the mountains lately. You mean anything. I've not heard of anything offhand. There's some guys have found some stuff like old pack saddles and some old tools and stuff from the fires that it's hard to give a date and understand how old it's been there, how long. But they've been uncovering things because the fires burned out a lot of brush. And so it's revealing a lot of things in a lot of canyons. And, a lot of that's just going to be trash, garbage that people left behind many, many years ago. They're not really relics. They're not really of value. They're just stuff that was left behind. So I'm sure, but on the other side, there's a lot of trash back in there that got burned up too. Tell Trevor thank you for filming the dedication of it. Jacob Waltz, you guys. Yeah, and that was part of it. There was not a lot of people who were going to be able to make it, and I wanted to make sure that people understood that they did a really nice job with the gravesite. I hope people can get out there when they have events and visit it and so forth. And there's a lot of people, there's groups and other people that are involved in preserving it, the Dons, as well as the Lost Dutchman Motorcycle Club, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and the Masons are involved. And so there's groups that are kind of keeping an eye on things, along with the Phoenix Historical Society. So, Tortilla, thank you much. Yeah, it just, it's the road. The road's the killer. Not has anything been found in the mountains lately? Damn phone. No, but has it? Okay, yeah, I got it correct. Okay. Hi, Wayne and everyone. Missed last Friday. Work gets in the way. Well, you can always see we record it, we upload it, and it's there, and you can always go back and watch it. So if you're not there live, you can just pretend. How did you and Frank's assays turn out from Fish Creek? Nah, nothing much. Even in the areas where we found the silver, we weren't finding any discernible gold. We did find a little placer gold, in the creeks, and they're just barely anything, and that's coming out of the mountains. But as far as specifically of what we found going through in Fish Creek, Horse Mesa, and that area and stuff, it was down by Black Cross Butte was far better. But it still wasn't profitable. So, you always keep looking because it's always in pockets, and, you don't know how the pocket's going to play out. So just like in Hewitt, there's no spots in there that anybody would have picked that find that pocket, and then Frank and Woody found a really nice pocket, and you just happen to hit it. Sometimes it's almost hard to figure out that source. So, but the assay from the Fish Creek stuff was just kind of Howdy, Wayne. Hello, everybody, from Joshua. And we gave, Woody, so many. It was pounds and pounds and pounds of samples. Him and McChesney went through it, and it was just so much stuff they had to crush. We brought them, everything we could think of. I cataloged it, and then they went through it and basically said squat. I think there was some flour gold and a couple things, but nothing that would make us go back to any particular spot. And we were kind of disappointed and also a little thrown off that even in the areas where we found the silver on the Horse Mesa side, there was just no trace whatsoever of gold. Because usually, we found gold down in the creek. So wherever it's coming from, flowing out of into these different areas, it isn't from the drainages in the immediate areas what we were able to consider. We'll get to this because nobody's showing up to talk about it. Last week on the live, there was the early newspapers of the Superstition Mountains. I said, if you ever get this, maybe I'll have Trevor kind of put it up and make it available. It's about the newspaper stories. The first newspaper story is August 1892 about Julia Thomas going in the mountains. So you have to figure Jim Bark, by that point, had already talking to them or was talking to them right about that time. The Bicknell story that we were being beat over the head with was not till 1895. There's a lot of stories that hit the newspapers. That one hit the San Francisco Chronicle. There's newspaper articles in Arizona and other places before then about the Lost Dutchman mine. So I think that was a little problematic in that whole discussion is you had someone that grabbed that Chronicle article about P.C. Bicknell, who was in articles before that locally about the area because he was looking for the Doc Thorne mine. He wasn't looking for the Dutchman at first. And it's people talking about Julia and so forth. They don't ever refer to her as Julia. She's Mrs. E.C. Thomas, or they get her name wrong. And there's articles right after that article from the Chronicle that were local articles that kind of tie into that. I always am suspicious as much as Julia might have told a couple people, and I know there's a couple guys like Robert McGee that got information from her. I thought What was really interesting is all these articles have information that Julia and Reinhardt had told Jim Bark, but it wasn't as, so Jim Bark could have been one of the sources they talked to in town at that time, because Reinhardt, by the time the 1895 articles, by 1893 or so, Reinhardt's long gone. He's gone. He's out of there. Herman and them aren't hanging around town in there and stuff. Julia's around, but I don't know what she's doing at that point in time. And they don't give you really any source. You can tell they're just taking material. And you can tell they make stuff up because it's the Civil War stuff, and Julia inherited Jacob's lot, which is not true. The Stars did. So wildly inaccurate in the articles. Articles before 1895. Yes. Have you better luck panning or detecting? Frank does very good detecting. Woody goes panning. I just go by feel. I just feel you get lucky when you get lucky. So Frank is really good at metal detecting and looking for gold, but he has specifically something for that. Yeah, this is a publication, early newspaper articles, Superstition Mountains and the Lost Dutchman Gold Mine. It principally runs most of the stuff that's kind of known, but it's prior. It covers stuff with the bulldog and obviously the mammoth, and when that discovery was made, and it covers some stuff concerning the Lost Dutchman. It's not everything through. Greg Davis has in his archives, starting from the very beginning, every newspaper article concerning that type of stuff. You can go in and find either copies or the original newspaper articles cut out and put in these photo albums. And it is a vast thing. I'll have to go over sometime and take a picture or film bits and pieces of what's there, so you understand that it's a bunch of bookshelves that are filled with these big, thick books of just newspaper articles. And sometimes it's 2 or 3 books for just the year. And it covers everything. So when you reference on this day, sometimes there might be an article for that day of a newspaper article. And there's a lot of early ones. Unfortunately, while there was the Arizona Daily Herald, there's the Mesa Tribune. The Arizona Republican, which became the Arizona Republic, didn't start till 1890. So they were a little behind everyone. They don't have a bunch of articles. And I don't know how thorough these guys were with the microfiche. I've been going through stuff again on my own. And I wanted to take this over and sit at Greg's and go through the articles and start kind of piecing together what might be missing. Obviously, there's a ton of general information that doesn't really matter that's missing, but it's interesting comparing these and what people were searching for and who was doing the searching back then, because there was more than just Julia and them once the word got out. But it was not the craziness you would like to think. It was a far more local story early on, and it was people that probably associated or talked with Julia. Let's see, articles before 1895. Yeah, he died in 1891, and Julia's in the newspaper in 1892, the August. That's the famous one, Queer Quest. It's a queer quest with this woman back, E.C. Thomas, and she's back there. And right after that article is the Patrash article a month later about the Patrashes going into the mountains on their own. So those articles were out there long before the Chronicle article in 1895. And like I said, there's a follow-up article to the Chronicle article, and it's a little different, talking kind of more local terms and sense of that. The last On This Day, I don't know what it was, because I just do them. I don't kind of memorize those. Have you ever watched the film Kabaza Devas? It was made back in the 60s. I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell. Okay. Agatha loves it. Can you be contacted privately? Yeah, go through the website. Trevor will kind of do that. I try to watch what I do because there's only so much time a day. And you got to remember, it's not a rudeness. It's, I have a job. I have a life. There's a lot that takes up a lot of time and things I have to do. So I only have so much time. So I have a backlog right now of phone numbers of people I got to contact, and I will contact them, but it's trying to keep up, because every week I'm going to talk to Frank. I'm going to talk to Shoes. I'll talk to, I'll have to check in with Larry Hedrick and Jack Sanfelice. I want to make sure they're doing fine and all. Shoes checks on Clay, because I'm not going to call Clay. I haven't called Clay for years. I'll stop by and see him and stuff, but I don't do the phone call thing. I talk to McChesney and Woody. Occasionally I'll talk to DeLille. There's a number of different people. I talk to Larry. I talk to, not Larry Hedrick, but Larry Aiken. I talk to Jesse occasionally, Ron probably more frequently but there's a whole bunch of people. So I'm doing with those people and dealing with normal life, but I'm checking on how my friends and other people are doing and checking messages and calling them back, and then talking to other people beside that on the side, dealing with that. So when you consider, it's not about popularity, it's just about the amount of people you know and trying to check in and see how people are doing, Larry Hedrick doesn't do much video work anymore, and Jack Sanfelice does zero. So you want to check in and see how they're doing, because they're both in their mid-late 80s. So you want to make sure they're doing all right and stuff. And so that's, But yes, I will try to always get a hold of you. But go through the website, and then Trevor will pass it along to me. John Mitchell was supposed to have interviewed Julia and Reinhardt. How did his information match with the Bark notes? I've never seen John Mitchell's notes on that interview script. That's one of the things that's missing on so many levels. There's Ralph Papps supposedly did that. We don't have any of his notes. Barry Storm did it. We have none of his notes. Most of these people that had a chance to talk to Julia or Reinhardt, even some bunch of the ones Herman, there's a lot more information with Herman, but Herman wasn't one of the prime two you want to hear from. Reinhardt's kind of oddly that's why I did that video on those letters that I thought that person had, and I was like, whoa, and I was so excited to get my hands on some letters that he wrote. I knew what his handwriting was like from some other things, but I was like, oh, I really want to see this. Even if it's not Dutchman, it fleshes out the character, and to find out that the person was trying to fake it and pull one over on me really, really sucked. But I caught him because, again, I know enough and have pulled so much research that I was able to sniff it out, which some people do it just to put their name in a book or put their name out there like there's somebody, and then some people want something for it. In this case, I wanted for everybody's sake to get it into the archives, get the originals, scan them, and then share them, because I thought that would be so cool for all of us to really, one of the first two people to hear it from Jacob Waltz, to actually have that in their own words, something. And then it turned out it was just bullshit, and that was very disappointing. So yeah, John Mitchell, I don't know. I've never seen, Jim Bark, his 30 questions or 40 questions, all the stuff he had, we've never seen any of that. I don't know in some of those private collections what happened to that stuff. I know Barry Storm stuff burned up. It was a trunk of his car, or in a trunk of some sort, and it caught fire and burned up. Play show the parts were there. It's pretty easy near films. Okay. Is Shoes looking for the covered mine on his map? On his map, that's the Hank DeAndrea, Ernie Saviano, Basil Zaccardi map that was found in Chicago and Illinois. That they came out, and it was Ed Hudak was involved with that, and Barry Storm. And that's the map that he kind of has in his version of Thunder God's Gold. And Shoes has shown, and that's not the one we used in TV, but Shoes has that map, and that map, I don't know, he never found the Thatch mine on that. He found the others, and I know where those are, and he showed me where they are in maps, but he never found the Thatch, the covered mine on that particular. So I don't think he's looking anymore. I think he's done well enough in life, and he's no longer a young man. So I do not believe that. But I'll go out looking, I'll go out on his behalf and for his sake. I'll go out and look at those. And I always hope, with what he couldn't find, maybe something will trigger in my fresh mind, and then go look out. And nothing yet. Okay, Joshua Carter's talking about that film. Let's drink to Bob Ward. Hey, Bob. He was probably getting thirsty, huh? I'm not going to drink to myself. That's kind of weird. Um, did anyone see that the recent news about someone finding a cache of gold coins hidden in a leg of a religious statue in a church in Italy? I think it was. No. I asked because it was said the mine was still being worked when were the ones covered. Worked were the ones, I don't know if I caught that right. Well, there's supposed to be 8 or 9 Peralta mines, and then somehow people get into 18 mines because they confuse the Peralta stone maps, which there is an 18 mine. Well, there's more than 18 mines out there in prospects. There's hundreds and hundreds, but there's supposed to be X amount of Peralta mines. I always believe they worked some different areas. It's not like they were all together, and they probably worked some of that out. And you got to understand, I've seen these old type Mexican mines. They just worked stuff out hard, and then they left stuff. So, you might think, oh, wow, I found $500 worth of gold in this seam. Oh, they left that. I'm going to be rich. And then you just spend the 500 and twice as much more. Dig it in there and find there's nothing else. They went for that good ore, and they got it out. And so who knows what they were looking at and what it was like. That would be one of those things when Randy Wright and I were up in the mountains. We were looking for cache caves that they might have stored things in that might have got left behind, because the one thing I always wanted to find was something like a journal or a logbook or something, because most of the time these groups, they were very meticulous what they were doing. You always have that meticulous guy, he's keeping track of stuff, and I always wanted to find of how much ore, how many people, what was kind of happening. Not a diary, but kind of a accountant's book, and it would give us some idea of what they were processing, what they were moving, to how this was circulating and working. But when you look at their works, the rat tunnels, they're not like what you think of as mines you stand up and walk in. You got to crawl in a lot of them. You're on your hands and knees. They were just, Are you not a part of it? If you've not watched us long, no, I am not. Travis Tumlinson made the maps at his family's home in Texas. He made them there. There's a video that shows even them showing the stones out in the back of the shed where his stonework tools were. And then they show you some of the other stoneworks. He made another stone map, a Mexican stone map, and then he made those. And he also made other kinds of maps besides stone maps, but no. I never kind of bought into those. The moment I saw them, I realized it really was like, what? I thought it was always kind of a weird thing, but there was a lot of scams. You have to understand, those times, there was a lot of scams, a lot of people trying to get money out of people and stuff. Okay, I'm not a Peralta. Okay, do you think the Aztecs had the natives bury stuff? Well, no. I don't think the Aztecs had anybody do anything, and I don't even know. It's always hard to say what happened, or if stuff was buried, or if it was stuck down in somewhere else. I liked that TV show where there was the 3 different groups in 3 different states digging for Montezuma's gold. And I'm thinking, man, how much different can each of you be that you're in 3 completely different areas and saying, here's the route. And, it's like, I find the Aztec stories very interesting. I know the Hohokam and other groups must have had some sort of trade with them, whether it was they met in the middle or how that all worked, because there's beads and feathers and things found that shows that there had been some sort of trade. When they left and moved, and a lot of Aztecs went north, which some stayed, and went elsewhere around the Mexico area. But for those that might have come up into Arizona and melded in, I don't know how much influence they would have over time. What were they able to do? Because it wasn't the government, it wasn't the head chief's guy, and we don't have anything structurally that fits that. So what kind of influences were brought into that? What kind of influences were... And you have to remember, while the Aztecs do have a name and the descendancy with them and the Mayans and people in Mexico, nobody knows what happened to the Hohokam. Their name is like the people, right? Like the Navajo are the people, and the Apache are the people, and the Anasazi are like the people. And because they don't really know what they called themselves, they left no written language. There was no oral language that was passed on because they're gone. So we know so little about that. So I thought you weren't just checking to be sure. Why, checking on my sanity? I think that's what Dan Dillman thinks. Well, okay, never mind. Have you posted all the bark notes? I don't know. I'd have to check with Trevor. I don't know. I know the bark notes are sitting back there on the Marshall half stack. So I don't know where he's at on them. I don't check those. And I really don't, he checks the website. I check the comments for YouTube and Facebook and that stuff. So I check certain things. He checks certain other things because it's too much for one person to try to do it all through the work week and everything else going on. So he kind of like, he got, and you have to understand, Trevor and I, sometimes it's just like people crossing, just like, hey. Okay. So most of the time, if like we're driving somewhere, we do a lot of catching up. I told him the greatest podcast in the world would be the two of us driving around catching up and trying to figure out what to do next. Because some of the funniest stuff, because we're all over the place going like, well, what do we do? What's this story and all this? So, but yeah, I'm not a stone map guy though. I do have books and material from friends that wrote stuff about the stone maps, and I'm very respectful. I will say I think they're fake, and I will tell you why they're fake and all this stuff and all the things I've discovered about them and great research. Larry Hanna, Gary Cundiff, I can't use their names enough about this kind of stuff. Wonderful guys, great researchers, but I can't tell you no. I will always be supportive. I just don't understand if people get into this stuff and the Latin hard stuff, especially when you start deep diving. And I've always been a firm believer in number one, do your research. If you're not doing your research and you understand something, if you're off like, well, you got to understand the Aztecs and Montezuma and the inference of the stone maps and stuff. When you're getting off into this wild stuff, which a lot of stone map guys do, you need to reel yourself in because there's a basic story. And there has to be something concrete, factual, that kind of ties it in, that makes you go, okay, I get that. Having a guy that had a stone working shop on his property with that type of stone and a family that knew he made them and he made more than one copy and all this kind of stuff that's surrounding it, there's just too much open to fraud. That's the thing that screams to me of going, okay, you got to give me something that makes me believe he even dug anything up. I don't even think, he could have at least pretended to dig them up. He didn't really even do that. Have you posted all? Okay, well, we talked about that. So, yes, the bark notes I'll have to check on and ask Trevor when he gets in because I don't follow that up. I read them. I read them all the time and make notes. I even still make notes on things. One of the things I was really happy that Bowman, Taz, whoever else he wants to be, was talking about this stuff because I really wanted to read the newspaper articles I have and some of the other newspaper articles I have loose and then take it together and read the bark notes and then see what could have been derived, because that was the first time I really thought, I wonder if a couple of these guys spoke to Jim Bark. And since Jim Bark was a prominent citizen and a well-known businessman and all, he might have been someone that they got some of this information from, because it just sometimes doesn't. It's like, if Julia's searching for it, why is she just talking to these guys, And why are they getting they're so off on some of the material, because Jim Bark and other people is far more focused. If you read, I think it's the Howlands, Ray and Lizzie Howland met with Julia and talked to her, and we have very little of their information that they got, but they visited with her and sat around and talked with her quite a bit. And she sounds like a very down-to-earth, very matter-of-fact person. The person that Sims Ely and Jim Bark said Julia was, that seems to be the person Ray and Lizzie Howland seem to talk about, is that she was very, knew the story and she told you the story, and it wasn't a lot of BS around it. It was really the story, and which is another one of those interesting facts that we got from them, was her saying, yes, she wanted, she had Jacob Waltz's sister's address. She had to write her and let her know that Waltz had passed away, and Julia was very aware of this, which kind of is another nail into that proverbial coffin of Dick Holmes of, well, why is he giving you the gold and you supposedly are with him and all this stuff that doesn't make any sense, and you didn't really seem to know him, but he gave Julia his sister's address to make sure that she let her know, and then if they were able to recover, mine gold from the mine and stuff, that they could send her some money and stuff. And Julia even admits it later. So that tells you Julia was a pretty honest, straightforward person that was trying to do the best of her friend's wishes. So when you read and you start looking at it, you're going, oh man, one person comes off like kind of the bullshit artist. Thanks for all your wonderful information. Sacrifice your free time to do the show. I like talking about Dutch hunting, man. I like when we get to talk about Dutch hunting. One of the unfortunate facts, and I know Jesse and I talked about this once as we were sitting around the rendezvous, is sometimes there's a lot of fun and games and a lot of fun stories and funny stories and different things. Sometimes it's really great just to sit around and talk Dutch hunting and do this. It's hard for a group of 4 or 5 people to do it without it sounding like a individual lecture series. I understand where Teton can and where certain people fit in of telling the folkloric tale of Jacob Waltz. It's for entertainment purposes, and people aren't really interested in it. I mean, let's face it, the people go to the lectures. I gave a lecture, 1,500 people, I don't know how many, it was a lot of people there. I got pictures, shows all these people. And how many of them are really interested and really put that thought process and went in and bought some good books and listened to my recommendations and thought, man, the museum should have recorded that because it was the timeline of Jacob Waltz's life. The second one was the timeline and actual proverbial documented instance of what happened with Adolf Ruth. They were really good because it gave you a good starting point. Didn't mean I had all the answers. It was a place where here's so much information that you're never going to hear about, but take this and do something with it, because if you take what we know about Jacob Waltz today and what we knew about him 30, 40 years ago, it's incredible today how much more information. It's just not in books. It's just not there. It's just so hard to develop. I mean, if you want to talk about the lost Dutch of mind, but you got to be entertaining, it's hard to wrap it in. So, but I understand the need for certain aspects. I just wish the museum was more focused on making sure that we were preserving and understanding the legacy. If Greg Davis hadn't been at Jacob Waltz's dedication, there would have been no museum representative there. Think about that. Nobody from the Superstition Mountain Museum was there that I know of. They were not there. How is that possible? That there was not a bunch of people from that museum. There was people from the Masons, and I said the Daughters of American Revolution, Lost Dutchman Motorcycle Club. We signed in. Myself and Trevor were there. There were some other people that just came in because they were interested in the Dutchman and this stuff and heard about it. But I was really surprised, and Greg almost didn't go. So there might not have been one single representative from the museum. And when I look at it is, I know there's a lot of people at the museum that are not fans of mine, but that's a shame, because it is the Superstition Mountain Museum and the Lost Dutchman Mine Museum, and it's only there because of Dutch hunters that put the information and material together. And if you take the Dutch hunters out of it, it doesn't exist. You don't exist. The building, none of that happens without Tom and Greg and Clay. I mean, come on. So the fact that they weren't there, yeah, shame on them. There, I vented, I ranted, pissed them off again. I'm at the point now where I realize they're not going to probably ever invite me back and all that. I'm just kind of like, you know what? If I'm going to piss them off, I might as soak them wet, right? And I don't mind. I'm the kind of person that'll just wet you down, let you walk around in ankle deep urine all day. Thanks for all your wonderful information. Yeah, we got to that. How about the cave found on Blind Frog Ranch? Yeah, which cave? Because I think they're in more than one cave, and I don't know if any of the caves are a single cave or what cave. They need a better editor, and the film crew needs to do better continuity. Because at times I realize there's one point they're showing they're deep in this cave, and you see the sunlight at the entrance right behind their feet. They have a bad habit of just being lazy on their filming and what they're sending in, and the person editing and putting that show together is lazy. It's entertaining. I watch it. Hey, it's the Josh Feldman show, not Blind Frog Ranch now. Why is Josh and the other guy in the boat? You didn't have to be in the boat. You could be right there on the embankment with a table with all the equipment. You don't have to be in the water. because the other guy's in the way. None of it makes sense at times. I don't even understand the optics for some of it. So there you go. I have no idea about the caves. I was watching it, and I started to watch it closely, and then I realized how much. I mean, God damn, you want to get down there and look for the cave, but you had to take a week in Florida to train, and I don't even know what that was about. So I will watch it for the entertainment purposes. I will not watch it for the treasure hunting, because there's no treasure there. Nice to hear positive talk of Julia, such a feud between her. I don't think there was a feud. I think the feud was made up by the Dick Holmes side of things. Reinhard Petrasch says it best. Get Barry Storm's first edition, Thunder God's Gold, and in the back there's the Notes of Authenticity, and there's the statement by Reinhard Petrasch. If Dick Holmes ever met Jacob Waltz, it was in the afterlife. He laughs. When you read that, you realize Reinhard Petrasch doesn't have ill will Dick Holmes. He just considers him nothing. I think Dick Holmes built himself into the legend. I don't think he was part. He might have met Julia. He might have known Albert Schaefer, her second husband. But I think he incorporated himself into all that. I don't think there was necessarily a feud. There was someone out there who once talked that there was this raging feud in the courts and all this stuff with Julia and Reinhardt and Dick Holmes and all this stuff. And the newspapers reported everything, and there's not a single newspaper article about any of that. The museum needs a memorial to Tom Collenborn. Yep, Kim, that's where things went south for me. I said build a bronze statue of him on his horse Crow with his dog Duke and put that out in the front of there or back where we do the lectures, because Tom was the reason so much of this stuff has transpired. So many people wrote books. There's a museum. There's a historical society. Tom is so important to that legacy. And then they just were like, well, we're not going to invite you back for a while. So, again, swimming into my urine. They swam into it looking for that transmitter in that lake. Yeah, you could have said fake, too, there, too. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, the first thing Trevor yelled was pause. And he said, so this transmitter that's floating is light enough that it's going to float in the water. But as it goes through this stuff, and if you've ever been in underground waterways or caves or seen anything like that, and what you saw in the show, there's rocks and boulders, and it's going to get hung up. So somehow it traveled miles, and the current was not very strong. So it's an impossibility of what they were saying. And then they're like, oh, it's underground. And it defied logic is what happened. That was the problem. And then they were going into this cave, and like I said, I just kept like, and then they keep doing the fake thing. The poor guy, what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. Chad. Poor Chad. They're trying to kill him off every time. Oh, it's an earthquake. It's a cave-in. It's this. His oxygen went off. I mean, they just want to kill Chad off constantly. Near-death experiences constantly. Not real near deaths. I mean, shake the camera and stuff, and then just go. I mean, maybe it's time to open a new museum and archive. Yeah, but you couldn't call it anything like that because they're going to have that. But we wanted to do. That was the whole idea, is like someday to find some way to take everybody's. The original idea of the museum was to put all the research and materials and collections into one place so you could visit and research and see that stuff and have a museum with it. All that research and all that material is still in private hands because it never went in there, because they never built the building for the research. They built all that other stuff. They got all kinds of stuff going on there that has nothing to do with the Dutchman, nothing to do with the Superstition Mountains at times, and the research collections are all still sitting all over the place. And okay, I don't know. Read everything. Thank you. Always read Tom's stuff. Some great books out there. Chinese Tonight. No, tonight is a salad and breadsticks. Sims didn't meet Jim till 1898. Yeah, okay. Or 1893. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. They met. I don't understand that. Okay. Museum forgot the base. Well, that's what happens, though, is people come in, and in any organization is people come in and it's not fundamentally of like, well, you need to do, this is our fundamental mission statement. And then they change mission statements and they start morphing into something else. And people get elected in the hierarchy. When I told Trevor, if we were to create a research building and do the collections and do it the right way, I said it would be hereditary. It would not, hey, Florida, it would not be you elect people and it's that type of thing. It would be Dutch hunters have it, and Tom would find another Dutch hunter to take his position on the board. It would be always fundamentally the majority would be people that cared about the mission reason we started doing this. It wouldn't be about raising money to sell more jewelry, to build this, to have things that have nothing to do with anything else. And I don't mean to pound on them, I guess I am now. But the whole idea is you'd have to do it different. Right now, I don't know, what is there, 12, 15, 17 members of that board? And most of them couldn't tell you. I mean, you go in there, and even the docents, they cannot tell you the Jacob Waltz story. They cannot tell you. They tell you Teton Ken's version, kind of, that they kind of paid attention to. So it's really, really, really difficult. Chinese, okay, we got back that. Read Tom's stuff. Hey, Florida, I got there. If the museum doesn't listen, want the truth, where are they even? Because it makes money. And it's a thing for retired people to screw around and have fun and play around with. And they feel like they're doing something. Favorite guitar? Oh, man. It all depends. It changes, you know. I can say I have that nostalgic feel towards my old PRS. I got a new PRS that I like a lot. And then that Strat right there is kind of personally what I really like. It's just, you know, I find out which is my favorite when it just becomes my go-to. Right now, my go-to has been that guitar right there, that cream-colored Telecaster. I've just really enjoyed playing it. And I can tell when I'm sitting there going, oh, I got to do something, and then I just go grab something. I know that's where kind of it lies. And it will change. It changes at times. There's a hollow body right up here that for a while was just the guitar. It was the one I picked up 24/7. Anytime I wanted to do something, I picked it up. And I haven't used it. I changed the tuning, too. I changed it to open tuning so I could do slide on it and stuff, which kind of took out the other stuff I could do and just tooling and playing around. How long had Search for the Mind before meeting Sims? Okay, that was Taz was answering that. Jim got that range 1890, met Sims in 1893. He repeated it. Thank you there. Wayne, favorite pistol and favorite long gun. Favorite pistol. Favorite pistola. We got to be finishing up here in a few minutes. Favorite pistola. I don't like really heavy handguns, and I got a few, and they're just really heavy. I don't know if I have a favorite handgun. I don't know if there's one that, you know, if it's like I want to stop somebody in the front door, it would be the Blackhawk 357. But I don't know. It's just rifle, though. My favorite long gun is, geez, the TV show should have told you that. It's a 30-30 Winchester, man. That's the everyman, everything gun. I have a number of rifles, but that's the rifle in my heart's rifle because it's a good long gun, it's a good short gun, it's a good everything gun. You could hunt an elephant with it, you could hunt a deer. I mean, I know they say you can kill an elephant with a 22, but no, that's the range rifle. And man, I think it's just such a great gun. It's got some kick to it, but it's got power, but it's a light and it's a gun you can carry around. Coming from someone that went up in the mountains with the big old 30-06 in his hand and drug that sucker around, no, that 30-30 is so much nicer to walk around with. It doesn't even drag on your shoulder. If I find anything, you're on my invite list for millions. Vindicate the hunters. There you go. Well, there you go. If I find anything, well, we all find stuff. Dragoons. No, I don't know about the Dragoons. You're funny. You're a funny guy. A case of Dragoons. There's 2 cases, supposedly. 3030 is classic. It's a good balance gun to me. This is one of my favorite hours of the week. Thanks, Wayne. Well, we're getting ready to get out of here because I want to eat my salad and breadsticks. Can you carry a weapon in the super? Yeah, you can carry a weapon anywhere in Arizona legally. That's my go-to. This is Arizona, man. What do you mean? Can you carry that in the mountains legally? Drink to Bob Ward, who shot people legally in the mountains. Call the sheriff, shot somebody. No, you can carry a gun anywhere in the mountains and anything. Don't think you can carry one in the. See you, Kim. See you next week, or I think next Thursday, right? Probably see you there. So, but yeah, carry a gun anywhere. Martin 3030s too. Yeah, Martins make good 3030s. So I'm not gonna. Marlin. I don't know why I said Martin. That was stupid of me. But everybody have a great rest of the week. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to eat my salad, eat my breadsticks, and try to be thankful. Wish it was a steak, but, or there was a steak following the salad. But I will eat my salad, and I will behave myself by eat my breadsticks, and be a good boy. So everybody have a great rest of the week. Catch us Chasing Legends on Monday. Catch Sunsets if you get a chance this weekend. If you haven't, and catch us, and we'll see what kind of other things we throw out. We will try. I'm not promising, but we will try to be live next week. The Don's Discovery Camp is a big part of whether or not I can make it. So hopefully traffic's good and I still get out there. Sky Cloud pops in at the very end, where every day is a golden day. And late apologies. Do you think Jacob Bolts was overkill? I think what they did to his story was overkill. I think he was fine. I think I don't know how much room is down there, but yeah, would he flip around at his grave 500 times on what they've done and said about him? I made it a personal apology to him there, and even told Trevor, I can't believe even there some of the things people said, because they just love that folklore. And it's like, why do they got to do that, man? Kick him while he's down. Dadgad tuning. That guitar, that black. Right there. That black one there is set for Dadgad. So that guitar is set for Dadgad. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here before I take too long and sit around and get into the next thing in the next hour. So there we did. An hour, almost 15. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will come around and catch you next week. Thank you. And